All right, folks, so we're moving on to the next stage of the unit, where we are going to be combining linear perspective with your use of pencils and a full range of values to create a drawing that shows anamorphism or anamorphic art. So let's go back about 3 weeks when I first introduced to you the concept of linear perspective. In that video, The Masters of Illusion, there was a brief, like probably about a 3-minute period, where the speaker was talking about anamorphic art. And that's really what you're looking at here, the picture of King James, painted by Franz Holbein the Younger. This is the first instance of anamorphic art in art history. What anamorphic art means is literally when you look at something at one angle, it looks like one thing, and when you change your angle, it looks like something different. So down at the base of the painting of King James's court, you have the skull down on the bottom that really just looks like a smear. And when you position yourself at the side of the canvas and you look down at an angle like so, it ends up taking that foreshortening and turning it into the picture of a skull. Now, in this particular instance, the skull is considered to be symbolic, either symbolic of Holbein's last name, which is German for hollow bone. What is a skull? A skull is a hollow bone. The other way that art historians look at this is Holbein's interpretation that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are a commoner. It doesn't matter if you're poor as dirt. It doesn't matter if you have a bunch of power. It doesn't matter if you're rich. Death is going to come to us all. And what anamorphic art, especially in the late Renaissance, was really used for is it was a way to hide messages. It was a way to get hidden messages across, mostly through the medium of artistic portraiture. So you've already seen this piece, and this is the beginning of how human beings and artists back in the Renaissance started to use anamorphic art. From the 15th century till today, anamorphic art has changed a bunch. There's a lot of different ways that anamorphic art has come through. For example, by the time you hit the late 1500s, artists started to create drawings on pieces of paper that, when they were reflected on cylinders that were made of metal, where you have a cylinder and the mirror and that mirror reflection of the drawing came through, you have one drawing that comes down like this, but then you look at the actual drawing itself and it's a completely different picture of another object. So it's the beginning of optical illusions. So when you look at this, it's a picture of the mountain range. You've got the explorers, there's a valley, you've got the lake and the boats over on the side. But when you look at the reflected cylinder, it ends up becoming a portrait of one of these explorers. Really, really time consuming and honestly ingenious. People were doing this back in the 1500s, before there were computers, where the only thing they had to go on was having a metallic cylinder sitting in front of them and going in and drawing these images out and then seeing what it would turn into through the reflection. You've got the piece on the right, obviously the eyeball, and then you look at that elongated curved drawing on the piece of paper, and this is what this anamorphic art ends up turning into. People are ingenious. Artists are, like, it's crazy to see what artists are able to do using this idea of, you look at it from one angle and it looks like one thing, and then you look at it from a different angle and it looks like something totally different. When you get into more modern art, there's a bunch of sculptors that will take different assemblages. They will take different objects that, when you look at it throughout at a different angle, it just looks like a pile of junk or a pile of jalopy. But when you look at it directly at the front, it ends up morphing and turning into a portrait of a person, creating that two-dimensional effect. This is a portrait of one of my favorite artists, the Spanish artist named named Salvador Dali. When you look at this is perfect for his style of art because he loved to do that classic double image. He would make images that you look at it one way and it's a picture of two people kissing, but you look at it another way and it's a picture of a battlefield in Spain. It's like he was really good at taking that double image and putting it down. So paying homage to him through this sculpture really makes sense. It all comes down to the angle that you are at as the viewer looking at the work of art and how that comes forward. Modern days, and we're talking like right now, happening right now, probably the biggest piece of anamorphic art and the most popular anamorphic art that's coming out today from working artists are sidewalk chalk drawings. So this is that exact same process where the artists are creating drawings, but when you look at it from a specific angle, or more importantly, if you take a picture at a specific angle, it starts to look like it's three-dimensional. What you're looking at here is very close to the assignment that you're going to be working on over the next few days, where you're looking at linear perspective. So you can see the linear perspective in this piece on the angles of the ice that's chipped away. All of these lines coming down all share a vanishing point. You find that back edge, that vanishing point comes down so that you've got those straight lines creating depth. And then from there, you go in with the chalk in this instance, and you start adding values. You start getting that full range of values so that it's darker at the base where the shadows are, and then those shadows, using gradient values, smudge all the way up to the top, and so you get that light versus dark. It's the same thing with this piece. It's all about linear perspective, where you've got that front corner of the ground, that edge of the ground coming through, and then the foreshortening of the river coming down, going down into the pool with the crocodile at the base. What is this artist doing? He's playing with photography. He's playing with the camera lenses, and the only way that you get this sense of depth and space on this piece is if you are looking through the camera directly at this particular angle. If the camera is positioned 2 feet lower or 2 feet higher or to the left or to the right, you lose that illusion. It's not a thing that with the naked eye you're going to be able to look at these and actually see it. It all comes down to the camera lens and how the camera lens is able to capture depth and space on a flat surface. So what's so interesting about these, you see these black lines that come across? That is the segmentation of the sidewalk. You can literally see where the actual surface is because of those lines coming across. Same with this over here. You can see those hard dark lines, these large squares that come through. Sometimes you're not going to be able to get rid of those, which is okay. But even though we're getting that illusion of depth and space coming through on the sidewalk, it's still on a flat surface. This is what understanding how to use linear perspective and value mixed together is going to allow you to do. You will really be able to create that illusion of depth to come through. Now, I bet in the class when I said, okay, this is like an example of what you guys are going to be doing on this next project, I bet a bunch of you about lost your minds going, what, man? You expect us to draw sharks? You expect us to draw rivers and like making it seem like it's three-dimensional when it's not three-dimensional? Get out of here. Okay, what you guys are going to be working on is going to be a more simplified version. It's going to be focused directly on linear perspective and value, and it will be done directly in your sketchbooks. So you're going to be operating on a much smaller scale. Here are some examples. Black and white pencil drawing using on regular paper. This drawing is done with a 2B, a 4B, and a 6B pencil. What you need to be aware of is that whenever you're looking at these lines that are going down, any of the lines that are moving down into this pit of illusion, all of these lines are coming and converging down on a vanishing point that's down at the bottom of the page that you can't even see. This is straight linear perspective. So and with that linear perspective, once you find that vanishing point, what if you're drawing a anamorphic drawing like this, where you've got that pit light effect or that step light effect coming down, what this ends up looking like is it's not going to look exactly right until you bust out your phones and take a picture and find that angle. When you look at it with your naked eye directly straight on, it's not going to look like this. In fact, it's going to look, you're going to look at it, you're going to be like, that doesn't look like a pit whatsoever. It's all about the technology. It's all about the technology and being able to line up your camera so that you're able to get that angle to make this pop. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be grading you on this piece. When you actually see, I've got a bunch of examples that I'll show you, when you actually see what these look like on the real drawings that you're going to be looking at with your naked eye, they don't look anything like this at all. They really don't. It's all about the angle of how you are taking that picture coming through. Here's another one. Super, super easy. This artist just went in and drew this shape in. From there, they found each of their corners. Corner here, corner here, corner here. All of these lines are coming down to this vanishing point. You can see that dot. It's coming down to that vanishing point here. So what did this artist do? They went in, they drew this shape on their piece of paper. Once that hole is opened up to create that shape, they put their vanishing point down, and on the inside, they just started converging those lines, going from those corners, converging them down to the vanishing point, and then stopping once it gets to this white surface. Remember, once you're drawing through something that you don't want to see through, that's when you want to stop it. Then at that point, they started doing their shading, going darker at the base, fading up using their flat values and their gradient values to get that sense of depth and space, so that when you're looking through it, when you're looking at it from this angle, it looks like that pit is falling through. This is the exact same thing. All of these shapes, these are just geometric holes that are drawn in. Once these outside shapes of the edge of the hole to the surface of the paper is put in, you find the vanishing point. So when I look at these vanishing points coming in, all of these vanishing points are off of the paper actually, but it's all directly straight down. Find your corners, converge those lines on the corners, draw the holes of the windows, converge those lines on the corners, and then you go in and you start getting your shading. But once again, this picture does not, if you're looking at it straight on, it does not have the same effect as what you're seeing right here. This next one is probably the easiest one that you can do. This piece is a square on a piece of paper that's drawn out. They start off by going in and doing, so you got your square, you find your vanishing point down at the base, that is right down here at the base of the paper, go to this corner, connect that line out, and then they do stripes. One going this way, one line, this line is parallel to this line is parallel to this line, going all the way back. So it's all about those parallel lines to get that effect to come through. They went in with a Sharpie marker and colored it in black, then left it white, colored in black, white to get that pattern, and then went on top with a 4B or a 6B pencil and did their gradient values to create that effect. I'll show, once again, you will not be able to see this effect if you're looking at it straight on. I did an example of this very one. I'm going to show that on the overhead screen so you can see the difference between what this looks like straight on versus what you get with that angle. It's the same as this one. I've got an example that I drew of this style. This is a really interesting one, as is this one, where the artist went in and actually cut the paper out so that you could see the background surface this is sitting on. This builds that effect up even more. But really, what does this come down to? It's all about vanishing points. So with this is a cube that's drawn with the vanishing point that's coming all the way down at the bottom corner of the page. This vanishing point for these buildings, this vanishing point is down at the base. It's all about finding your vanishing points and putting that through. Here's the hardest. Of all the anamorphic drawings that I could find, these are the most challenging because this next group requires incredible precision. And these are the hole drawings, the circular hole drawings. Getting this effect that these stripes are curving and going down, it's all about placement and proportion. To get that foreshortening to come through correctly, when you draw this and you're looking at it head on, these curves back in the back are much, much larger than the curves that are in front. It's like these are twice the size. These squares are twice the size of these squares. It's that foreshortening and creating those ovals that really end up bringing these things out. So, what is your job today? Well, let's go ahead and show you a couple of different examples that I have queued up. First off, this drawing right here. Here, let me turn on my... you can't even see it up there. Hold on, guys, hold on. I keep on forgetting that I got two screens. So, with this drawing right here, this is literally that first hole drawing where you've got the square that comes across. From this corner, I'm going to a vanishing point up at this top corner here. This line is parallel to this line is parallel to this line is parallel to this line. Once I got that in, it's my 4B pencil coming up and shading out to get that shadow. I drew this incredibly sloppily. I was not worried about straight lines. I really wasn't worried about my smudging because I wanted to see exactly how clean this was going to have to be in order to create that illusion. When you look at this particular piece at this angle, it's straight on like this and it creates that tunnel effect. But when you take a picture of this very thing at an angle with your phone, it ends up looking like this. It creates, other than the ripples of the paper, it creates that three-dimensional effect coming through. Here's another one. This one was wicked fun. I did this one last night. When you look at this is, when I drew this, my paper came all the way up to the top here and all the way down. I started off by drawing my squares right here, connected all of the corners of the squares, going back to a vanishing point that is now gone off of this paper like this. So when you look at it, that effect looks more like this, that head-on effect coming down. You got kind of some depth in space, but not nearly as much as you would expect. But when you turn it into the anamorphic, hold on, I want to make this bigger so you can see it a little bit better. When you take a picture of this with your camera at an angle, it ends up looking like that. Notice the difference. Look at how tall, because of the angle, how tall this rectangle is. But when you take a picture of it with the camera, that giant rectangle creates that illusion that it's really, really small. Is this making sense, folks? Here's another one. This one is the bane of my existence. The bane of my existence. Oh my gosh, I hate the circles. I hate the circles. Now, here's what I was talking about. The rows back in the back are much, much bigger than the rows at the front. But when you look at this picture from and like it's got to be exact. Like your measurements have to be right on. These circle ones are challenging. If you're up for a challenge, this is what I'm going to push you towards because they're tough. They're tough to do. Can it be done? Absolutely. But this is the effect that you get when you take this picture at an actual angle. And here is the last one I got for you. So notice this one. Here I started off by drawing this L shape, connected this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner back to my vanishing point, which is all the way back at this point here. Drew those down, and then I started building up my stairs. So when you look at this, it's like it's super exaggerated, that bottom to top. But when you take a picture of it at an angle, it ends up, this angle wasn't exactly right. I was having a hard time with that. It ends up looking like this. It totally foreshortens it out by just bringing your camera down at almost the table angle of where you're placing your picture to get that going on. And so we can, would you like me to give, would you like to see one in like real time? So here's, if I'm drawing like if I'm drawing a hole in the surface, what I do, all I did is I just went in and I started drawing these lines real jaggedy at each of those corners. I'm not even finding a vanishing point, honestly, because I want this to be more organic. These lines, I'm just bringing them down so that you start to get that ledge. Once you get your line drawing for something like this done, you're going to go in with a 4B or a 6B, and you'll go in and you'll start using your gradient values to get that darker value down at the base of your at the base of the hole that you're drawing. That would be all the way down like this. Everything like this is going to be super dark. Everything down underneath this line. Some of that dark, I'd actually have it come up on these corners, and then I do my gradient values coming off like that. Once you get this in, so if you're looking at that, it kind of seems like a hole, but it doesn't really seem like a hole. But when you go in and you take a photo of it with your phone, let's see, come on, take a picture, sucker. And then you look at that photo, you can't really see it. Come on, let's go, come on, be better. Okay, trust me, this is hard to record, but trust me, when you look at this, you've got that hole-like effect that's coming through. So, your guys' job today, I want all of you to, don't jump up right now, but here in a moment when I'm done with this presentation, I want you to please log on to the Google Classroom. When you get into the Google Classroom, there is the anamorphic drawing lesson that is loaded up. And then on that lesson, there are 6 YouTube videos of different styles of ways that you can create these anamorphic drawings. I do not want to make an assignment where I'm like, every single one of you are making this drawing, or every single one of you are making this drawing. I want you all to choose one of these drawings that is going to be best suited to your ability level. If you're like looking at this going, oh yeah, I'm going to kill this. I really want to try one of those city drawings, or I want to try something that's going to challenge myself. Some of you in this class, some of you in all the classes, like there is definitely student artists that have that ability, that could jump in and really challenge themselves. Some of you are, I'm sure, are looking at this going, oh my gosh, this seems really intense. If you're not sure about which direction you're going to go, you're going to start off with one of the easier ones. Easiest ones would be like the striped hole like this. The ladder is really easy, and honestly, the checkerboard holes, even the cities are about medium. They're not super hard. The circles are the hard ones. Go ahead and get onto the Google Classroom, watch some of those videos. If you get on the YouTubes and you do a search for anamorphic pencil drawings, you will find dozens and dozens of different styles of anamorphic drawings that you could do. Honestly, you can go in any direction here that you want. Find a tutorial that you're like, oh man, I feel like I got the skills to be able to do these, and go ahead and watch the videos and start sketching it out. At that point, that's when you're going to call me over and see if you're going in the right direction. Most of these I feel pretty confident in being able to help you with. Oh man, that's wicked good. The mazes are wicked good, right? That's totally amazing. So you've got some freedom. The one thing that I don't want you to do is go in and start working on the folded paper anamorphic drawings. Your sketchbook pages, I want these drawings in the sketchbook. Your sketchbook pages are going to be too small folded to really be able to effectively get that to come across.